I think we could see a different outcome.
I agree, especially because regardless of Alireza being, as Danya called him, Ali freaking Firouzja, right? Ali freaking Firouzja. It despite that, Magnus Carlsen still has that edge, right? That made him the GOAT and got him to be the best player in the world, the highest rated player in history. That I think if he gets on a roll, there's a little bit of a psychological factor, right? Where players can struggle against him because he's Magnus. And so you really called it well, I think. If Magnus gets off to a good start, maybe this match goes the other way, right? And he's the one winning by 3 games. So either way, at this point, no more speculation needed. We have chess on the board. Firouzja with a little bit of an edge here to start game 1.
Yeah, although the pawn structure is such that it looks pretty bad for white. And I'm looking at the clock. Magnus up 15 seconds. So he was doing this in their first match. He was well ahead in the clock. But what Magnus just showed against Danya, he has the mouse speed at the end of the game as well. So right now, I'm liking Magnus' position. He may be actually not even down any material anymore after he stole the D pawn. Whoa, a queen sack! Because if you take the queen, the B pawn would become a C pawn and then become a new one.
Yeah, that was awesome. Okay, it's still a 50-50 game, but as you said, Magnus way up on the clock. Uh-oh. But now things have turned around, and Firouzja's got to attack. Magnus is, like, unbelievable there. Wait, no, Magnus turned it around there. I'm sorry, I was losing track of who was who.
No, you're fine. That happens in bullet, even for the players. Like, wait, am I black in this position? Yeah, you are. Oh my goodness! Bishop takes h3 with mate on h2. That's a win for Magnus.
A brilliant move to start game 1 with a little bit of a head bob. Whatever tunes he's listening to, it is working for Magnus Carlsen.
Yeah, that was the best start you could possibly imagine. And now Alireza with the black pieces. Look at this opening advantage for Magnus. He gives. I think in bullet chess, having double isolated pawns is the worst thing in the world.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even in regular games, double isolated pawns are not everyone's favorite. But in bullet chess especially, they are things that you wish you could just like literally give away, right? Because you'd rather have the open lines, the open files and diagonals in bullet to give you some tactics. So I agree. Magnus, much better in game 2. You called it. Firouzja started out with a 3-0 lead earlier this week. If Magnus reverses that script, you could have Carlsen Nakamura in a final.
I mean, he's just cruising right now. This knight is going to land on d5 in the near future, like right now. Our rookie won first, okay? I don't know if it matters so much. But he brings his knight. Don't take the bishop, because knight f6 check. The queen would still protect the bishop on c6. Magnus, he drops the c2 pawn, though, and that gives Alireza some new life.
Yeah. And he's got the bishop pair. Now one is off the board, but still, this is much closer to equal. Firouzja also playing faster this game. Still down on the clock, but not nearly the deficit it was in game 1.
Oh, gosh.
Although, as I say that, it's going the other way. Firouzja shaking his head. And again, not calling anyone out in any way, but I am calling the momentum out. Magnus has already won a match today. He's looking fresh, feeling fresh in his home environment. Firouzja looks a little tired, just going to be honest, right? He doesn't look as fresh as he did earlier in the week. So we'll see if he can shake off whatever the fogs are, or he's facing a 3-0 deficit.
Maybe he needs Fabi to show up and tell him he's looking fresh, because some people are the recipient of that comment. Others, they never get it. But for Firouzja, it doesn't matter what we say. It matters what he does. And here he is, the white pieces. And Danny, he's worse once again. Look at Black's army in the center.
So good. You nailed it on that, by the way. So, by the way, Fabi is looking fresh, and I just want to say that again. All right. Yeah, the pawn's in the center. Pressure on the king. You always say bullet. King safety even more relevant, right? Because you don't have the time to work yourself out of a bind. But that's an important trade there for Firouzja to get some of the tactics out of the way. But look at this. Magnus just rolling, still up on the clock again by 4 seconds. This is a different Magnus Carlsen, and we know Hikaru Nakamura is watching. What are we going to have here if Magnus moves on to the final?
I mean, you saw what the arrows I just drew. There's at some point going to be an attack on the diagonal going for queen h2 mate, like right now. He goes queen e5.
Queen e5 right now?
But he allowed the queen trade. That was an inaccuracy from Magnus.
For sure. That's a huge moment, and this might be a huge save. Firouzja needs to stop the bleeding. You don't want to fall down 3-0. Magnus wasn't able to recover from that earlier. He needs to hold this game.
But Magnus is slightly ahead on the clock, so he should use it as a weapon. And honestly, I think Magnus, what he should do is avoid losing. That sounds like, duh, you never want to lose. But you do not want to give Alireza that confidence. So he's locked the position up, and he's going for a win.
Oh my gosh. Look at the pawns. Look at the king. Magnus Carlsen wants the 3-0 start that Firouzja gave him earlier this week, returning the favor. Look at this. And he's also, again, he's still up.
But look at Firouzja. He cut the king off.
Yeah, that was brilliant with the rook.
And I'm looking at the time.
But it's coming down to time.
Oh my gosh. It is blunder, apparently, but not much time for either player.
There is no time. Magnus on a king run wants to flag him. But look at Firouzja. Flexing the better time scramble skills.
And
we have a match.
Is in the chat. What's up, Danya? Saying that Magnus' form is 100 times today what it was yesterday. But Firouzja just showed off the mouse speed. And that's the annoying thing. When someone has a rook and you just have a bishop, bishops can't deliver checks when the king is on the opposite color. The rooks can just pester you across the board. And the king was cut off. So limited movement for Magnus' pieces. And Alireza better with black in this game.
Yeah, I love it. And that's a really instructive point for Bullet. The idea that the rook is just an easier piece to play with there than the bishop. The bishop was constantly worried about blundering, right? Moving to the wrong square. The rook was in a dominant spot, which allowed Firouzja to pre-move his way back into a time advantage. So, interesting stuff. All right. Magnus still has a game lead, but Firouzja seems to have found it a little bit.
Yep. I can read between the lines here what you're saying. This game is not the most interesting Bullet game we've seen today.
You can hear that in my voice. Just like my voice goes higher when I'm insecure. Oh, he blundered! Oh, he blundered the queen. Blundered the fork. Look at the bob, the music. We obviously are going to ask Magnus what he's listening to, no matter how he finishes on the day.
I mean, that was actually a potential match-changing blunder because Alireza was up a pawn. He was better. And there was no risk in the position except he fell into a knight fork, and that happens in bullet chess. Watch out for the knights.
Note that Magnus didn't walk into the fork on e2 there with that nice king h2 move. Very smart. Flexing the rook's dominance over the knight. He's going to take a 2-0 lead. Firouzja doesn't waste any time on the clock. Gets right back at it.
Yeah, 3-1 in Magnus' favor right now. 2-point spread, as you mentioned. And so we see it's now Caro-Kann time. And Alireza, he's a proponent of the Caro-Kann. And this is just a weird opening. This knight on c6 came from g8. Like, how do you explain that to somebody?
Sorry, I love that comment from JR Scribe. What would be spooky is if Magnus said he wasn't listening to any music. Anyway, that would be awesome. By the way, the chat did say Magnus Carlsen is the favorite here, 54% to 46%. Thanks for voting, chat. We'll see if you're right.
I mean, what's right is this position for black. Like, oh, what a tactic! Ooh, that knight could be captured in two ways, but the knight was pinned on the diagonal, and then when you capture the queen, look at all of black's army, and white has a limited one.
And by the way, look at e5. What a strong move to flex the center, knowing that you can't take that pawn without opening up lines for the rook, especially in bullet. You don't want your king to come under fire. So Magnus, as Don just said, his form is fire today.
Oh, and look at this h4 move. Where's the queen going? f6 is next. You couldn't play f6 because the queen was in touch with g6. Now, he gets the queen into f2. Queen e1. He just steals the material.
Just missed that. You saw his response. He didn't even see queen f2, and he loses the knight, and he's feeling the pain right now.
Sorry, Alireza, I didn't see that either, but Magnus did, and that's all that's important because Magnus is currently out to a 3-point lead. This is a complete role reversal of their first match.
Yeah, we will ask Magnus to share his playlist. He'll do that at some point. We'll see if he's willing. All right, Magnus has completely turned this around in terms of how he played earlier this week. But Firouzja still has time. If he can, we know what he's capable of. Here he goes. Some tricks here for black.
Ooh.
Watch out for queen h4. Queen h4.
So black has two minor pieces for a rook and a pawn, but black has this knight entrenched on e3, and it's not going anywhere unless you trade off, and the next knight might be able to replace it. But Magnus fighting well, but Alireza quicker on the clock. Yeah.
But this is the kind of game Firouzja needed here. This is a turnaround. He's up on the clock. He's better on the board. This is probably the best game we've seen him play so far. We'll see if he can convert it.
He better. I mean, don't fall for any tactics. These moves for black have all been good. The knight's wheeling into e3. Yeah, this is just great play for Alireza.
Yeah, up a piece. 20 minutes on the clock. Everyone take a breath. I expect this one to be close. Collect your breath. Breathe into your diaphragm because that sends a message from your brain that tells your body it's okay to relax. I've learned that. Like a human thing. Like
wait.
anxiety.
Your brain works? Oh, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Sorry, dude. I had to. I'm sorry.
That tells your brain to relax, which I need to do often for my brain to remind it to keep working.
I feel bad now.
All right.
I've got to be honest. I feel bad.
I feel great about this. I love the role reversal here. You're hosting, you're roasting, you're doing it all. I love it.
Did you just go full Walt Clyde Frazier on me?
Hey, still got a few tricks in the bag. All right. Well, Firouzja's up a piece, but Magnus flexing that he's got a 3-game lead. He's going to get as much time off the clock as he can. Firouzja, again, winning and up seconds. I don't expect this one to go any other direction but a Firouzja win.
Yep. And
hosting
Magnus...
and roasting for the boys with that.
Magnus looked a little bit bothered by that defeat, and he was able to rebound immediately the last time around. But we'll see in this game as he goes back to what seems to be his trusty Carlsen.
Yeah, he's playing the Carlsen, but Firouzja with a better position. I think if this one goes Firouzja's way and he wins 2 games in a row for the first time today, I don't know that Magnus is going to keep going back to the Carlsen. Just prediction.
But this does look pretty awesome for Black. I mean, the White has these terrible pawns, his bad bishop on G2. All White is going for
It was looking better.
Yeah. I've seen better bishop pairs in my life.
Yeah. Yeah, some of the moves come in, chat, so fast that you can't keep up, right? Because they are literally playing at human speeds that are faster than the broadcast technology. Literally, like we can complain about it, but the reality is they're playing chess faster than we can sometimes keep up with. That's just the truth.
We should celebrate it for being incredible.
We should celebrate it. And Firouzja should celebrate this position, although I'll say this, the eval bar doesn't tell the story of how tricky this is. Magnus has 2 knights, the White King is open. I see Hess nodding along. That always feels good to this low self-esteem international master when he agrees with me. So thank you for that. Okay, but you agree, right? This is trickier for Firouzja than the eval bar says. This is a blunderable spot.
But I'm looking at the clock, and Magnus has given up.
Yeah, and the G file.
Yeah, H6, by the way, was an awesome move, because if the king took on H6, the queen would have traded on D2, and that's why Magnus took the pawn, but he lost the game, and now it's back to a closer match.
Here we go.
Alireza,
Here we go.
He scored a couple wins there, and what is this from? We're getting like a...
What? It wasn't a Bond Cloud, which I'm hoping for. Anyone who follows me on Twitter tweeted a little Bond Cloud earlier today, but Bishop H5, that's an exchange. Did Magnus just miss that?
He did. But you know what's funny about that is he still has like a ton of compensation because the bishop can't move from F8, and now that you've castled queenside, maybe White can try to drum up some pressure over there.
That's a nice move. F5 forces en passant, which is you got a rook, you got to open files, and that's what Firouzja will need to flex the exchange advantage. And look at this. I mean, if a 3rd win in a row happens and we are deadlocked at 4, call your friends. We keep saying it. It's Friday. Take off work. It's already afternoon where most of you are. So let's go.
Yep.
Join the party.
Magnus is doing his best. He's trying to play quickly and just pose a few problems. And he's going after the H7 pawn. If he can trade the king side off, that gives him better chances.
Yeah. He wants to keep the queens on the board. Get something going with an attack. I like queen e6. But look at Firouzja.
D5. That was amazing geometry.
Good. Yeah. We always say retreating moves are the hardest to spot, especially with no time. Firouzja putting on a clinic here of how to convert an extra exchange in bullet. And by the way, okay, I was going to say he's not too down on the clock. He is down 4 seconds, though. Oh, checkmate. Firouzja is the future. Ali freaking Firouzja has tied this match.
Yeah, he said hand down, man down. That's checkmate in the corner. And that was sweet from Firouzja. That was an excellent game. He has won 3 in a row. He hit the turkey, if you like bowling. But look at this position now. Magnus, as you said, when you've double isolated pawns, get rid of them because it opens up the space for the rest of your pieces. And both players, they're playing this very quickly. It's such a weird position.
Yeah, this is one that it's hard. Like every move looks like a blunder. Does Rook C8 not win a piece? I mean, like I don't know what's going on here. Like but the players are holding their own, especially with only 15 minutes left, and we are tied. Even with Magnus's fast start, this one is going to come down to the wire. And let's remember, fans, you have to win by 2 in the new BCC format, which I love, and make sure that it has us here to the very end.
I'm looking at the clock. Alireza is up several seconds. He's also up a pawn. This is another game that's going Alireza Firouzja's way, and he needs to not let up. Knight c5. That won a piece, I think. Oh, but that one's an exchange, so he wins the game. Magnus is tilting.
Yeah, he's frustrated. He's about to lose his 4th game in a row. We saw him kind of take a beat and take a breath and then take a swig of water, right? Sometimes that's the hardest thing to do in these online formats, Robert, is just gather yourself, right? Because there's no time to shake off the emotional effects of a bad loss. And Magnus has got to get his head right here. Alireza Firouzja has won 4 games in a row if you just joined.
And sometimes when you lose a time scramble, like Magnus did when he had a bishop and a bunch of pawns for a rook, is you start getting worried that in future time scrambles, you'll also be the slower player. So that was a huge win in that game from Alireza, not just on the scoreboard, but whoa, Magnus is giving up a piece for 2 central pawns here.
I was about to say great, then I was like, is it tilt? Magnus sacrifices a piece. From a practical perspective, you kind of like White's chances, even if the engine is saying that Black is better.
But look at that move.
Uh-oh.
Leaving the tension, pinning the knight on b3. And so Magnus passed pawns. They got to start rolling. But this knight's now going to slide into e6 to stop the pass d pawn.
It's a bluff. The piece sack was a bluff. The pawns are going nowhere. Magnus Carlsen could be losing his 5th game in a row.
He needs... Danny... Oh, that was a huge blunder. He let the knights get traded. He's lost.
Yep, it's over now, and now he needs to resign and get back at it. He needs to learn the lesson that he gave Danya in the last match. Don't waste extra time.
You can take on f4, take on e5. That's a winning king opponent in game. And yeah, he needs to right the ship right now because Firouzja has suddenly been able to overtake Carlsen on the scoreboard. It's a 2-point Firouzja lead at the moment, 6-4. Magnus up 4-1.
Yeah. 6-4. Magnus Carlsen has lost 5 games in a row, but you're seeing why Alireza Firouzja is the only other person to win a Bullet Chess Championship title besides Hikaru Nakamura, right? This guy, even starting slow, something woke him up, whatever it was, and he's a monster.
He is. And he's just playing principal chess right now. But the thing I like about Magnus's very bizarre opening is that he's up on time. So sometimes it's okay to play bad moves in Bullet as long as you play those bad moves quickly.
Yeah. The balance of don't play so bad that you lose, but make sure you have an edge on the clock when it matters. As I like to say, the key to winning chess games is to play the best moves fast.
Whoa. There's a knight on d7. You almost never see that.
Rook d8, though? What is the deal? Knight c2, but now you lose a piece.
Oh, knight f6 check is the big threat. How do you stop that?
Magnus is, and you see him dejected there. He reacts. Knight f6 check is going to be mate with the rooks on the d file. And Firouzja is going to win his 6th game in a row. Bullet is a game of momentum more than anything else, and Firouzja is on fire right now.
This has been exceptional to witness. And Firouzja, it looked like he was shaky at the start, and he's saying, no, I was just getting warmed up. Magnus had that warm-up against Danya, and now here in this match, it feels like Alireza, the worst of his chess. He got it out early. That's really good news. He needs to keep this up, though, because if Magnus gets one win, he smells blood. He's able to win several in a row.
Yeah, Greg Shahadi said it. It's been a brutal 10 minutes for Magnus Carlsen, but there is still 10 minutes left in the match. So if he can pull it together, he has time. This is still, though, looking like a lot of pressure from Firouzja. Whoa. Did he sack? Oh, it was made on G3. That was glorious. That was glorious.
It was. Yeah, that's such an easy thing to overlook. And, well, Magnus has a better pawn structure. He's playing against these doubled C-pawns. But for now, Alireza has more activity until G4. What's going on here?
G4 might be a move you don't want to play, especially because he was up on the clock by a second. There was no reason to rush. Magnus getting maybe a little bit frustrated here. Whoa, he's going to
Smart.
trade. Look at the light square dominance. What an interesting spot to be in. Down a pawn, but potentially better in the endgame.
And it's a big problem why you've double pawns. If one pawn was in the B file, you'd be able to create a passer. And look at that move, C4. If you take, now your pawn structure is permanently awful. And now white should just go, oh, why is he allowing the king in?
Oh, he
Stop
allowed
allowing
king
the king
d4,
in.
but he was threatening bishop g5. But Firouzja should have taken that chance. This is actually a very dangerous game for Magnus because with time going off the clock, you're going to lose a lot of time in the overall match here. Firouzja should play on. Don't take the draw. Oh, that was a practical mistake for sure by Firouzja.
But Magnus was up 2.5 seconds. So that's why Firouzja felt compelled to take that draw.
Okay.
So I'm with you.
Okay.
That was a winning endgame, and he probably felt that it should be, but he looked at his clock, and that's what Magnus did better. He didn't play his best game, far from it. And you said this at the beginning of the show when we looked at Danya's accuracy versus Magnus's. It's not always important to play the most accurate moves, because if you're doing it slowly, you're probably going to get a flag down the stretch. And what is Magnus doing? Didn't he just drop the B5 pawn?
Yeah, he did, and he yelled at himself. He said, "Oh, come on, man!" And you could see he said it. And at least he drew the last game, so he has stopped the bleeding, quote unquote. But that was a horrible blunder. Firouzja has pushed him perhaps on tilt here.
Firouzja, a tough opponent for anybody, and he is unbeaten the last 7 games. Is there a mate? No, that eval bar was sky high, and now it's going back down, and black suddenly has play on the queen side.
Yeah, Firouzja probably missed some sort of version of a win there. That A pawn is dangerous.
Oh, but the A pawn's gone.
And Magnus might be losing it though. Okay.
Oh, is it?
Oh wait, this is just no. It's king d7, but where's the beef? Where's the mate?
They just win the material. He's up a piece right now, and Magnus is faster. Look at it. He's up 6+ seconds at the moment. Oh, and the evaluation bar is going down because you can't keep this e5 pawn. And now what black should do is take the g pawn. If you could take the g pawn, the chess.com server says you make a draw. So bishop f3. Play bishop f3.
Bishop f3, and it's a draw.
He's trying to win.
Find it.
He's trying to win. He can't. No more pawns.
Maybe doesn't have a choice. Yeah, because of the match situation. But you can't win this game. Don't take the knight. That loses.
All right, so he is
Okay,
up on
now
time.
he's really in trouble.
Well,
Dude,
Magnus, he's just going to flag him.
Firouzja put the pawn on a dark square, though. That was super smart.
Yeah.
Preventing the bishop from doing anything, but it still should be a draw.
Well, if Alireza can somehow speed Magnus, then there could be a winning chance. But no, Magnus is just going to keep his king in front of the pawn, and we are likely to see any second now. And there's the draw. 1.5. That was way closer than I thought it would be.
Yeah, but in a huge practical win for Firouzja because so much time came off the clock there. Only 6 minutes and 50 seconds left, and Magnus is facing a 3-game deficit.
Yeah, he's up the pace, has Magnus Carlsen. He knows that he needs to win and probably win quickly. He still has enough time. There's 6 minutes and 40 seconds remaining in the match, so he doesn't have to go all in just yet, but he needs to get 2 games, wins for him, and not lose anymore.
Yeah, and Firouzja is just focused. I mean, he is he's not giving an inch right now.
He's not, and he's going for the good old mating
Bishop
pattern.
H3.
King H1. What a smart move by Magnus. He also gets out of this pin, so bishop G4 will be met by pawn to F3.
Yep. And he goes for it, puts the knight on E4. Magnus turning it around. Again, as you said, there is time, but you have to start winning. If you win this game, you've got time to win another. So don't blunder and don't panic.
Yeah, that's really good life advice in general. So everybody out there,
Don't
don't blunder, don't panic.
Don't panic.
But it's hard not to
Stoicism of
panic.
chess.
It's really difficult to keep your composure.
Yeah.
And Magnus has been playing fast, but look at that. All of a sudden, Alireza, he's on the offensive.
I would say if there was one difference right now in the match, and I know it's not over yet, is Firouzja has just had more pressure against Magnus's king. In most positions, he's been the one attacking the king. And from a practical point of view, that has led to some blunders. Although, right as I say that, Magnus flipping the script on that, queens and knights coming after the king on G8.
Oh, look at this. He wants knight f6. And he gets it because he cut the queen
D6
off.
and he gets knight f6.
He put the pawn on d6 to interpose along the 6th rank. And right now, Magnus has to stop worrying about his clock. He's about the position and worry about the clock. He needs to flag Alireza here. He is up a second, but he's burning clock. Oh!
Yeah, and I wonder if he had D7 there, but he does have time. Knight h6. Oh,
Just pre-move.
d6. The pieces come off. You've got to
Just go.
pre-move the knight.
It doesn't matter. Just you can lose pieces. Just be faster than your opponent.
Did he blunder that knight for a second? Maybe
He did. No, he did.
Look at that.
But that's the thing. That's the right thing to do. Like Danya has done this many times. You just give away all your pieces and just pre-move at that point, and he wins on the clock with 4 seconds to spare. And now it's just a 2-point margin.
Yep. Yeah, it's a really great point, Robert. Because at a certain point, you do the math. Even a pre-move loses a 0.1 second on the clock. Right. That's the fastest you can play on chess.com is a 0.1 second. And so, at a certain point, you do the math, and all you have to do is pre-move to flag your opponent. Right.
Yeah. And also, when you take a pawn, you expect your opponent's pre-move the recapture. So your opponent, like Alireza took the pawn on b4. He expects Magnus to recapture on b4, but Magnus doesn't. So he's not anticipating that he could take this knight on c3 next, and that sort of shocks you. So I think that you just pre-move in those situations. And now Magnus, he won the last game. Look at this position, up a few seconds, dominating the queen side with control of the c file, and white is cramped. That bishop on c2 is a glorified pawn.
Yeah, and remember, you have to win by 2. So if Magnus wins one more game, he's already in that spot where if time ran out, he would still be having a fighter's chance here.
Yes, and he's got a great position right now, even material. The bishop finally gets out, and it's traded, and he wants a pass pawn. Magnus keeping the lead on the clock. Danny, this is a different Magnus than earlier in the match. He's changed his strategy to just be faster than Alireza. Yeah.
Playing faster, and by the way, he's kind of playing better while playing faster. So right now, if he wins this game and we are back within 1, the route is not there. Oh, but look, wow, what a nice trick. That knight is coming into f5. That rook is running out of squares. Oh my god, he's holding the rook with the king. What a crazy position.
King c4, traps the
rook is
white
trapped
rook.
on d3.
Okay, he gets a square on f3. It's an ugly square. But here again, Magnus just has to move. It doesn't have to be perfect chess. Yep. The evaluation may go in Alireza's favor, but just go.
Just go. He takes the knight, wins a piece. Firouzja going for tricks. But we have a 1-point match, everybody. Call Mom. Wow. Tell her to tune in.
Mom! The meatloaf! No.
Mom, I'm watching Twitch on chess.
Oh my goodness. It's a 1-point match. And look at this position. Both sides with doubled c-pawns. And this is a weird position, but I could see an exchange sack on d5 at some moment.
Yeah. And I could see black not wanting to take it and playing c6. But okay, the rooks come off the board. b6 is played. Some doubled pawns. Only a mother could love for both players. Doubled c-pawns. This is one that almost feels like a take-a-breath game for both players, Robert. Like, all right. Match has been set. The stage has been set. Magnus shows he's not going away, and this one is probably going to end peacefully.
Probably, but as I'm looking at the clock...
Yeah, you're right.
Like, is Magnus trying to lock up the position, and then he strikes with f4? I was about to say, at the right moment strike, and then f5, and then things get a little bit complicated.
h5 becomes weak. He'll play knight g2 here, probably. Just hold on, he does. But, yeah, at some point, f5 comes... Oh,
e5.
Firouzja forces the issue.
But e5 and f5. Who's getting there first?
That was a huge mistake.
Oh my gosh. And Magnus up 7 seconds, and his pass pawns are mobile, whereas his knight blocks the enemy pass pawn. This is just, the pawns are pushing up the board, and I think white is taking this game.
It's funny, the panic there by Firouzja was something we haven't really seen today, but I think he looked at the clock, didn't want Magnus to grind him, Robert. Whoa, was that a mistake? How do you break through if you're Magnus?
Knight f6 to d7 is just queen. He goes for it.
Knight f6, but there's h2.
But knight d7, and you get your queen with mate.
Aha.
Oh my gosh, it's going to be a tied match.
Yeah. And look at Firouzja's like, all right. Here we go. Tied match. Less than a minute to play. We're going to overtime, boys and girls. Buckle up. It's sudden death dodgeball.
But the players better remember that, because it's easy to forget it's win by 2. And so you may get really frustrated, may get very emotional, but this is not a do or die moment. It's not going to be good for either player to lose, but your tournament run is not over if you do in fact lose this game.
Yep. What a match of momentum this has been, Robert. Magnus up 4-1. Firouzja wins 6 games in a row almost, right? Whoa. And now Magnus turning it around.
What is happening?
He might be about to win his, will this will be his 4th game in a row if he wins this?
Yeah, he was down by 3, and now it's even, so it would be the 4th win, and he is better with the black pieces. Look at his fluidity, and the pieces all doing something, but the bishop b3, that scares you, even if it doesn't actually threaten anything.
Nice use of fluidity.
Thank you, my friend.
All right, here we go. Momentum in this match is crazy. It's funny, right as I said that Firouzja's been the one with most attacking chances, I feel like that turned around, and Magnus has been putting a little more pressure on White's king. You said he's been playing faster. That's the consistent thing that's changed. Now he's up again. Magnus Carlsen has turned this thing around, and now he's bobbing his head to music again. Firouzja needs to find it.
And, oh, the rook's trapped too, so bishop g4 is coming.
Oh, my gosh. All right. Time is out, but it's win by 2. Does Firouzja know that? He's looking at the clock.
Yeah, he does. He's locked in.
He does. And this is it. If Magnus wins this, it's over.
Oh, my goodness. It's overtime. It's free chess. Don't go anywhere. This is exciting stuff. And for Magnus Carlsen, he has won 4 games in a row, but right now, he's sacrificed 2 pawns at the moment. He's playing a gambit line.
Playing a gambit line. He's going for it. He wants the kill. Firouzja in a good spot, though. The king is out of the center, no longer in danger.
What is this? Knight f6 and d5? So, okay, but you said no longer in danger. The black king is worse than the white king, even though black's up a pawn. So I like Magnus' slight lead on the clock and the fact that he's no longer down material.
Yeah, and Firouzja's shaking his head. But again, even if he draws this game, he's still in the match. So Firouzja has got to gather himself, keep his focus. So this is a rook endgame, essentially, with queens. This should be a draw objectively if the best chess is played. Firouzja needs to play fast and hold on.
Wow, what a spot there by Magnus, by the way. Because queen b8 check, you can play queen e5. Like, now, Magnus, you play for a win. You're up 10 seconds. You flag your opponent.
Yeah, Firouzja has got to find a way to trick Magnus here, because Magnus is going to flag him to move on to the grand final against Nakamura. This is it. You got to change what's happening here.
This is scary territory for Alireza, but we need to keep account on the 50-move rule. At some point, Magnus might need to play the move f5, even if it's bad, just to try to win on time. Because right now, Alireza has perfect defense. Objectively, the position is equal.
Yep. And Firouzja doing exactly what you would do in both classical and bullet to hold this game. A master class if he can hold on.
Yes.
13 seconds to make 50 moves, basically.
Okay, but now he's going for the pawn. Rook f6, and if you're Magnus... Oh, that's great play from Firouzja.
Wow. The defense. The defense from Firouzja. Magnus loses his opportunity to flag him, and that might be something that comes back to haunt him if Firouzja ultimately turns it around.
Yeah, earlier in this competition, the first day of action, Anish Giri lost a match to Jose Martinez. It went to overtime. Anish was up by 1, and he couldn't secure match victory, and then Jose was able to take over. So this game here, if Alireza can win it, all of a sudden we're back to a tied match. And I have to say, the way that Magnus just played in that last game, it looked really good. It looked promising, but then you get a bit deflated that you didn't convert.
Totally agree. The psychological edge has suddenly shifted back to Firouzja here, even though he's down a game. I completely agree. If Firouzja gets this one, and he does have an edge, we've seen this match swing wildly. If you're just tuning in, where have you been? Your mom has been calling, saying, "Go watch the chess match on Twitch. It's totally lit." And now you're here, and Firouzja.
Why did the evaluation bar go so high there? That was surprising.
There's like a rook c1
Oh,
or something.
the queen was trapped after rook c1, rook a7. So
that's what I was just guessing, but yeah, the queen had no squares. That was nutty.
Okay, but that's helpful. This, again, the engine really helps us because you think it's a normal position, and suddenly, with one bad move, it's winning for a side. And what is happening here? h6 fell, but it's past d-pawn and open c-file. Who's better?
Yeah, I kind of like Magnus's chances here, although I will say this, Firouzja has sped up. No longer the deficit on the time. Right as I say that, got to play fast. Magnus is in a position to flag and win the match. Uh-oh.
You know what this reminds me of? That candidates game between Ding and Hikaru. Like, complete chaos. One side attacking, one side with a passed pawn. And right now, this pawn looks very scary. And if he gets his rook to the first rank, he can win this game. But the evaluation's still level, and Magnus up a couple seconds.
What? And now he's threatening rook e1? I'm freaking out. This could be the match. Could be the moment.
The b-pawn goes, but the bishop was hanging, so he had to go here, and now there's rook a7.
7 seconds to 4 seconds. Here comes F5. Oh, but the rook was coming to A1.
Yes, you gotta give checks. This could be the match. And if you're Alireza, if you can get the rook off the board. Oh, he blundered it!
Oh, we got the no! He drew it, Magnus blew it! Oh my gosh! That was the match!
Oh my gosh, I was about to finish my sentence. And if he can get the rook, it clears the way to a draw. And Alireza, he is faster when they just have a couple seconds on the clock, and that is why he's still alive.
But I feel like Magnus panicked there. Didn't he have time not to lose the rook? Or no,
Yeah.
Firouzja had gotten the edge on the clock. My God.
Oh, my goodness.
Firouzja,
What's Firouzja doing? Why did you spend all that time there?
I was going to say, Firouzja fighting for his life, but yeah, mismanaging the clock here, down by 10 whole seconds. That's like a piece in bullet, although that rook might be a trap piece if you're not careful.
But look at this. He gives up the exchange to win 2 pawns and have a rook on the 7th rank. Magnus, he sniffed this out from a while back.
Yeah, that was sneaky. That was sneaky. The
And now
only
he
thing
can
I'll
take
say
this
is that rooks, dude, if rooks get going though in bullet, that's the only thing I'll say.
Ugh. But look
Look
at
at those
pawns.
passers.
Can you check and play G6?
Jack play G6 or just put the bishop on D3 and get it out of the way. Push him. Yeah, he does it. I like that. Push him, baby.
Yep.
But Firouzja holding on.
But the lead on the clock for Magnus, I think that might even be the worst part of this. Not only are there 2 passed pawns supported by a bishop, and then the king. Whoa, he
10
resigned?
seconds early, and Firouzja leans back, and Magnus is celebrating. He knows he's going to take it.
Oh my gosh.
Is that it?
Yeah, that's it. Magnus moves on to the grand final, and he's dancing into a matchup against Hikaru Nakamura.